Citing repeated missed loan repayments and failure to implement the reform requirements, the EU forcibly expels Greece from the single currency zone in early 2017, once again plunging the country into recession. Brexit sends economic and political shockwaves throughout the continent and world markets. As European economies struggle to recover from the shock, the EU receives a second blow in late 2017. British Conservatives, in collaboration with a loose alliance of anti-EU and nationalist parties, vote to leave the EU. London cites a lack of flexibility from Brussels to account for the unique needs of the UK. Europe's banking and financial system is hit hard as ties to London are reduced or even severed. The cost of capital rises across Europe. The EU's foreign and security policies also suffer as a result of losing Britain's expertise and assets in both areas. Grexit, followed by Brexit, is a 1-2 punch that undermines the legitimacy of EU politicians. Support for anti-EU parties soars throughout the continent. Outspoken anti-EU leaders lead large rallies, declaring that two dominoes have already fallen and that the time is right for their countries to reclaim their sovereignty from a failing EU experiment. As conflicts continue to rage in the Middle East and North Africa, unceasing waves of refugees are viewed with growing wariness by many Europeans. These challenges are compounded by additional inflows of refugees from the Sahel, fleeing the desertification of their home countries. Anti-immigration sentiment reaches an all-time high when the terror group ISIS claims responsibility for a string of small-scale attacks in Paris, Berlin and Budapest. These security concerns result in the indefinite suspension of the Schengen Agreement for free cross-border movement of people. Governments aggressively move to clamp down on immigration and ramp up deportation measures. The business environment suffers as Europe's sovereign risk rises. Insurance costs spike and foreign direct investment declines. Governments in France, Italy and Spain attempt to compensate for falling tax revenues by raising corporate taxes to finance social safety nets for their aging populations. This move backfires, leading some multinationals to shutter factories rather than pay the increased taxation costs. Consumer spending drops and an already underperforming service sector crumbles. These dynamics leave young Europeans frustrated. Generational inequality has grown and youth unemployment remains high. The work that is available tends to be short-term and contract-based, providing little security and few benefits. European millennials generally blame these trends on the EU and what they consider its misguided growth-killing policies. Many are drawn to anti-Brussels and nationalist parties. With crumbling support from Europeans of all ages, the EU and its institutions are frayed. By 2023, following years of poor economic performance, GDP growth struggles to reach 1%. Coordinated EU-wide policy efforts, including efforts to form a fiscal union, are simply non-starters. As the EU marks its 30th anniversary, it is an open question as to how much longer the European experiment will endure.